Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you a video talking about my thoughts on the finale to Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, with Wrath and North, general thoughts on the second half of the season, as well as my stance on the show at this point. I was reviewing the show week to week. I was reviewing it since the premiere all the way through about the third episode of Season 2, I think, Ouroboros. And then I stopped, and I dropped the show for a little while, just because, I wasn't that drawn into. I wasn't really, compelled by it. I didn't really feel attached to any of the characters at all, really. I know it was still early, but even with The Walking Dead, the original series, there is more of an immediate interest with them, with Rick and Shane very early on, from the first couple episodes, and I never really got that same captivation with Fear, really, and just some of it just came across a little bit dull and flat. I honestly was not enjoying it that much, to be honest. But recently, over the past while, I actually started to catch up on it a little bit more. Mostly due out of respect for the Walking Dead name and the people involved with it. Just out of how much I love the original and how much faith I do still have in the people behind it, because there is some of the same people involved with Fear, of course. And also because of Alycia Debnam-Carey, who I absolutely loved as Lexa on The 100, and with her having one of the main roles on a post-apocalyptic zombie show, why wouldn't I watch as much of that with her on it as I could, right? So I did catch up, got all the way to the mid-season, then I watched 3 episodes at a time after that. And I'll admit, I actually got to like it a little bit more. I actually ended up enjoying it quite a bit more than I expected to. I do think the second half of Season 2 was a bit more interesting than the first. There are some decent episodes in the first half, I did Episode 3, Ouroboros, despite me stopping after that. And I thought the mid-season finale was pretty good with the Daniel cliffhanger, the compound and stuff. That was alright. And I'm not I don't love the show now, but I do really like it, overall. And I do think it's really starting to gain some traction to reach that potential that I feel like it could still get to. It's still not nearly on the level of the original for me, but it's starting to earn its place a little bit more on its own. And I'm pretty happy about that. And with what happened with Chris in the second half, I thought was pretty good, at least with how Travis ended up having to handle that, which we'll talk more about in a few minutes. But how that affected and developed the Travis character, I really, really liked. I think that was one of the main highlights of the whole show so far. Cliff Curtis as Travis. Cliff Curtis, is doing a pretty good job. But Travis is no Rick Grimes, okay? But when he has that Rick Grimes snap moment in episode 14, Wrath, it really just took the series to a whole new level, I think. And Chris, I never liked Chris. He is a character I wanted to die pretty much from the beginning. Even when I didn't care about any of the characters too much, he was always the one that interested me the least out of all of them. And spoilers, obviously, Chris is actually killed a little bit before the end of the season, because him and Travis end up going off on their own. Then they meet up with this new group, a few 20-some-year-olds basically, and they're very they're arrogant, they're flamboyant, they're sort of high on themselves and sort of still really immature and such. And the way they're going about the apocalypse is a very cold way as well, which is a way a lot of characters will have to adapt to sort of survive. It's something that's been addressed on The Walking Dead tons of times, with Shane's idea of survival and such. But they obviously weren't very trustworthy, and Chris is just sort of manipulated by them because it grew into a sense that he wanted to feel again, or he thought he belonged to them or something like that. But I did like some of the Travis and Chris scenes, when Travis, is trying to teach Chris how to drive a little bit and such, and when Travis was talking about, how he does believe that there's still hope out there, how he does believe there's got to be someone somewhere doing, something about all of this. And in a way, it almost made me think of Rick, with him sort of helping to restart civilization in a way, some of the communities and such. It kind of made me think of that, I don't know. I do hope there's a crossover at some point, too. I mean, come on. I mean, I know they've denied that tons of times just because of the different timelines and the way they're not, matching up, in sync and such, but I still think they should do that. Why wouldn't they? If they create 2 shows based in the same universe, why not? But I did like how Travis developed, and when Chris actually does leave Travis after they kill the farmer, which Travis is really, really put off by, he begins not to really like what he's seeing his son become. And when Chris leaves with the other 2, after they kill one of their own, after he just needed probably a few more days to heal, we find out that they were actually in a car crash, and Chris is still alive, but he was like dead weight to them, so they actually shot and killed Chris to put him down. And when they show up as one of the refugees trying to stay at the hotel, Travis sees him again. Then eventually he puts together and pieces together what actually happened to Chris. And I like how they did that. They showed, they basically took us through Travis's mental process of realizing what had happened, as their story slowly didn't really, pair up with what they were just saying a minute ago and such. I thought that was pretty good. And then when Travis actually beats both Brandon and the other guy to death, that was awesome. I'll give it to him. Very brutal. I wish we got to see the skulls actually caving in and stuff when he was stomping on him, but we still heard the crack and the sort of the slush in a way. I thought that it was still pretty brutal. I loved it, and just the way Travis punched him and headbutted him was pretty awesome. Travis has become a really good character, actually. He's still no Rick, nothing like that, but I do really appreciate the way they've developed Travis and how they've handled him. And he's definitely a character I can actually care about now at this point. So I'm really happy with that. And like I said, with Alycia Debnam-Carey, of course playing Alycia on the show, one of my other frustrations with the show is that I just felt like they weren't utilizing her the way they should be. I've seen how good she can be on The 100, and it frustrated me that her time on this was taking her away from how well written of a show The 100 was and how unique her character was on that. Although she is obviously probably getting paid more for the show, but still it was unfortunate to see, because I just find The 100 to be far more interesting. But I was pretty happy when they started making Alycia that much more of an important character in the group, and they had her sort of coming up with different ideas now to deal with situations, and how she actually ended up having to kill as well. I really liked episode 10. I forget what that's called for some reason. Let me just look it up real quick. I swear I remembered it just a few minutes ago. Just give me a second, guys. Yeah, episode 10, Do Not Disturb. I thought that was a really good one, to sing her sort of helping the other lady with containing the walkers and trapping them in a certain area. I thought that was really cool. And as well as, like I said, when she does have to kill towards the end of the season, I think that's handled pretty well. And she feels like a pretty important character at this point, which I'm really happy about. Like I said, Alycia Debnam-Carey, she can be a very good actress. I like that her character is becoming more and more important on Fear right now. I feel like she'll be getting in a way, a Carol or a Maggie treatment. Have her become one of the biggest, badass and toughest characters on the show, for sure, I think. And, then with Nick and the Colonia and stuff, that turned into a pretty good arc, I think. I don't think it was amazing or anything, but I do like Luciana as a character, and I found the whole thing with the doctor there to be alright. We knew that he wasn't actually bitten. We know the rules established in The Walking Dead and stuff, but I still think the actor played it well. And of course, when they have to leave the Colonia at the end of the season, and the other group of men is coming there, I like how they sort of set up a trap, or Nick did anyway, with getting the walkers to go after him and such. Also with the doctor sacrificing himself as he was dying anyway, and moving the bus and letting all the walkers loose on him as they got into the compound, and were so happy about and so high on themselves about them just leaving. I thought that was played pretty well. I know some people probably wanted a bigger battle out of that, but I still think the way they handled it was a little bit different, so I like that. And I like sort of the setup to our new threat for season 3, with them trying to go north to the border area. We see like this military group, or what's seemingly a military group, take them captive. I don't know if it's connected to the guy Ophelia ran into as she was trying to get over there too. I don't know. But it's good that they introduce like another element like that again, because one of my other criticisms with Fear is that they just like skipped over the initial like fall of humanity a little bit too quickly, I think. With like the riots and such. We got that in like one episode. So I'm glad they're sort of having something like that again in a way. Just seeing like how like a certain group of the government's dealing with it and such, maybe, if it is them, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good setup for season 3, and again, just the way Travis felt, after, not only after losing Chris, but after killing those boys anyway. How that's affected him, how he tells Madison, towards the end, how he's not the same man anymore. Don't look for like any of the same qualities in him anymore. And they sort of just agree that they'll do whatever to protect anyone they care about, And that brings me to one of my issues with the show that still remains a factor, and that is Madison herself. I just do not like her. I think she's a pretty frustrating character. She's hypocritical. She's contradictory. And to be honest, I just don't think Kim Dickens does a very good job in the role. It can't just be the writing, I don't want to criticize her work or anything, but sometimes I feel like she's just really dull and just sort of flat acting wise. And sometimes I feel like when she's supposed to be like really panicked and worried or upset, it just feels like she's like forcing herself to, supposedly care. Like when she was trying to get Travis to stop, it feels like she's just obligated to do so, or just like obligated to help someone. Like I never actually believe she cares about anything. She always looks like she's a little bit disgusted or annoyed that she has to do something. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I do like Travis quite a bit now, him and Alycia especially. Nick's turned into a pretty decent character. I'm still not too crazy about him, but I do like, again, how he helped out the Colonia and such. I like how that was done. I do hope we see Daniel again at some point. I think we will. And I also like Strand quite a bit. I hope we see him with the group again at some point. I think he's definitely played well. I like the dialogue for him and such. I hope he stays on the show as one of our main characters. And so those are sort of my updated thoughts on Fear the Walking Dead. It's still not an amazing show, but it's definitely gained a lot more traction compared to when I stopped and back in the early part of season 2. I think the last couple episodes were very good. I thought the 2-part finale was awesome. With Wrath and North, I really like the Do Not Disturb episode. So I will be checking out season 3 when it starts next year. I probably will try to start reviewing it again and such. And it's still not the original, but it is still I think a pretty solid, even very good show at times. It's definitely at least like a B grade show, I think. So let me know what you guys thought about the finale of Fear the Walking Dead, as well as like the second half in general, and how you feel about it as a whole at this point. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Parts of it are a little bit slow too, but once you kind of roll with that and see that's more of like a drama, it's not quite as, it's a different style. And I also do sort of appreciate the different setting, how radically different that is compared to what we normally see on The Walking Dead. But yeah, I just want to say that. Catch you guys next time. Peace.